Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Now, this is our Saturday mock build, and here I am fumbling ever so gloriously at trying to come up with a kind of Star Trek ship. Now, I've kind of hinted at this a little bit here, and I'm fumbling a little bit here, and that's a good thing in a lot of regards. It's great to come up with ideas, and yep, I think I've got something that'll work, and I fumble at it because what it does is it pushes me out a little bit beyond where I'm thinking I'm going to be able to get things to work, and then I start kind of work things through. uh, you know Great engineering thoughts. So this is actually the first attempt at doing my warp nanocells. Obviously, this is not going to work. It's okayish. I've kind of got them linked together here a little bit for preliminary, just to have them together. But this does not look how I had originally kind of intended it. I did want the blue in here because I want that to be very much that of kind of like the next generation and that, where we get that blue hue. And I figured that this would save me a little bit of weight having these kind of nice hollow pieces here. It saved me some weight, allowed me to get a little bit bigger because these are 1x2 by 5 tall kind of wall panels. Same as the gray pieces here. And the hope was, okay, as I do this, then I can, hopefully get a little bit more built here, a little bit faster, with a little less work. And of course, then I've got kind of our corner turn pieces here. And as we look at this going straight on, I was kind of hoping that I could kind of get this to round out with some angle pieces, but none of that worked out. So in light of this, I'm going to take a different approach, and we will see how that all works. I do have some other blue pieces, similar color, that I can kind of work for our engine coloring there without having anything else. It's a little bluer than what I think it should be, but for me, for my own home build, I think it'll work. I think it'll definitely just give out that little nice discoloration from everything else being the same gray. Everything else is in the same gray because that is what we typically have in the old original series. So just kind of keeping it at that. So, I've got like a very lower deck, kind of and I don't have it up here because I'm doing this upstairs because I've got so much extra stuff on the pool table at the moment. I've got like my first bottom deck, which is more of a cargo deck, and it's a little bit bigger than what I think it's going to have to be. I think I'm going to have to build this a little bit smaller than I was originally thinking for two reasons. First of all, my wife reminded me, and where the dickens am I going to go with this thing? Which she is very right with. So it will have to be a little bit smaller. For two, if I don't, I think I'm going to have this as a permanent fixture on my pool table, and that's really going to be an issue moving forward, trying to get everything else here. But it does lead me into other things, and as I keep building or whatever, here we go. But, this is all a fun experiment and all that, and, we're going to see how well we work. And this will be, a little bit of an ongoing thing. We're going to get some other figures done in the meantime, but, I am spending some time trying to work on this, different ideas and different thoughts. Now, as a preliminary for the bridge, I kind of just put this here, and I moved this forward because I had the phone in there, and of course I'm looking through the phone screen. So what I did here is I have these corner pieces that I was originally using. I was hoping to use these a little bit more in here. You do get to see them a little here for trying to connect this all up, and it does hold it. They wiggle a little bit, but it is holding it not too bad. What they're going to end up using for in the future, I don't know, but we'll probably have them in here somewhere. At the moment, because I do have chairs ordered, I did not think about chairs as much as I suddenly do now. I'm hoping to build a shuttle, but if I don't, I have a Creo shuttle already built. I think I've already shown that one off, so I will be able to use that one. I'm hoping to get another shuttle made. but just trying to figure out for a bridge. So I'm just using these as placeholders for chairs and where else I'm going to go. How big of a bridge is this going to be? How big do I feel it needs to be? Now, this is, you will see on, I think it's this week's Star Trek, the Antares. So I'm kind of basing mine off of the Antares that I have presented. So it's more of a transport bridge, transport ship, kind of, I think we're going to want a helmsman and a navigator, possibly having weapon control between the two of them as well as a command chair. Now, if I just keep it as 3, this size of a bridge will work. If I want a larger bridge that we would typically see for a larger ship, then I'm going to have to make this bigger. But if I keep the ship smaller, I think this might actually work out being about the right size, and I could always put a computer or something off on the side for some scientific information or whatever, and maybe the captain can go over and look at it. Everyone's going to have to kind of double up on things. But if it's a small transport ship, it makes sense for that. Just trying to keep everything as small, compact, because I think the saucer may have to be close to about the size that of what we see from the Millennium Falcon. And then that means that everything else behind it will have to coincide with all that. So as I'm moving some stuff around here, trying not to show off the rest of my living room here. Oops. When I was trying to come up with a design, and I'm this was the first take, and then I have a second one, trying to come back here. So this roughly does get us about the size that of the Millennium Falcon-ish. And this isn't too bad. And then it kind of comes off on the back here. And I think if this is our main deck here, and if it's no wider than this, I think that could work. It's still going to be one of those things, where am I going to put this thing? And it's going to have to come back even a little farther than this, because I do want a little bit of a shuttle bay here. So I'm going to have to come back another one of these plates. So I think that's like another 16 that I'll have to come back and go from there. So this will get some size, but this form itself is the first one. I've done a second form here, trying to get this up a little higher so you can see. I did a second form. Looks like it's working a little bit better, but unfortunately, just like with the Millennium Falcon, I've kind of noticed I've got spots here that just are barely hanging in here. I'm going to have some Technic pieces to kind of hold everything together and truly kind of snap pieces together at different angles so everything works out good. So I do have to look through my collection to try and find the Technic pieces I have and see if there's anything else I have to get here in order to get this all to work. But it's a start, and it's a thought process to get through this. This is the biggest self-made creation I've kind of done, and I've kind of done some machinery or whatever. And when it's something you've worked with and you have an idea, even on some of the smaller stuff, I've had to kind of go through 2 or 3 iterations of it. But this is a fun project here, but it takes some time. I'm hoping to have, so you guys can get an idea of this, but I'm hoping to have kind of like a cafeteria in the front, similar to like a 10 forward. But if it's a small crew, it doesn't have to be very big. A couple bunk rooms. Obviously, we're going to need... I don't know if I'm going to actually make in here... I might just cheapen out and put some steps in here so I can go from one level to the other. I'd like to have a turbo lift, but this may be all of 3 decks between everything. This is going to be a main deck. I'm hoping to maybe just get a little bit of some pieces so it looks like it goes down a little bit, but it's not going to be a deck underneath this. I'll have this deck, the bridge up on top. On the secondary hull, we're going to have a level below this deck, and then maybe a small little deck on top, as best as I can do. Just trying to get this to work out. But I do want to have a small engineering bay, like a little hospital room, obviously any other services that we can think of that we're going to need on a small transport ship, and kind of go from there. But it's just the fun works of trying to do this and trying to play things out, and have fun out of this. So, all right. Well, with that being said, this is what I have built so far. I do have some other things to show you, because other things that I thought was going to be a grand idea that just failed horribly. And we're going to get through it. And then hopefully when I do those, I'll be able to show you something else that worked well. So with that, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for visiting. It's always wonderful having you here. Hope you're doing well. I'll see you in the next video.